My name is Jordan. In this video, I'm going to teach you a lead version of Angelina Baker in the melodic style. We're going to be in G major tuning, and all you're going to do is spike or capo your 5th string at the 7th fret, and then we're going to be ready to play this in the key of D. I'll play through the basic version slowly so you can see everything that's going on with my fret and my picking hand. Pay close attention to the finger preparation that's involved in both hands. I'll give a few technique tips. Those are going to be aimed to help you play this more accurately, more smoothly, more efficiently, and maybe help out with your speed a little bit as well. I'm going to go over some practice strategies as well. Good practice is an art. It's something that we get better at. It's something that's important because better practice leads to better playing. And lastly, I'll go over some of the licks and the variations that you can check out in Tunefox. This one has some really cool up the neck ideas and a pattern that I like to use a lot that actually doesn't even involve any open strings, so it can work in any key when we're operating out of this certain chord shape, which is going to be a first inversion chord shape. And it's going to involve bringing the thumb over the top to fret a note, although I'm going to present some other options to get that fretted note that may be a little bit easier on your fretting hand, or at least be a different kind of challenge for you. So there's a lot of pentatonic goodies both in the main melody and the licks here. And in the licks we've also got some other Scruggs style variations for you to check out. And there's some single string and melodic options as well. We'll go into detail about that later in the video. All right, I'm going to play this slowly to demonstrate the basic arrangement. Slow practice is important and it can be enjoyable if we really get into it. And it's easier to control a lot of the musical elements that make music interesting in the first place, like our dynamics, our tone, our timing, the evenness with which we play. We can even add in some accents to bring a little bit of life as well. So we can make slow practice beautiful, fun, and enjoyable all the time. It's benefiting us as players. All right, I'm going to vocalize some potatoes. As you probably know, potatoes are what are played at the start of a song to establish the tempo whenever you're in a group setting without actually counting them off. But here I'm going to vocalize them with this bum ditty, which is the common word used because it has the sound of this rhythm pattern that's used for potatoes so often. Bum ditty, bum ditty, bum ditty, bum. Right, you can hear it there. Bum ditty, bum ditty, bum ditty, bum. All right, before we jump in with the technique and practice tips, I want to give a reminder Make listening a part of your practice. Listen repetitively with the Tunefox player before you actually play, and sometimes just as a regular means of practice. You don't even need your instrument out. Also, make a playlist. Use Spotify, Apple Music, any streaming service you might happen to use, and make a playlist of a couple different versions of Angelina Baker and listen to those regularly and listen actively. So sometimes you might only focus your ears on just what the banjo is playing throughout the whole song, both in the lead and the backup. Other time, maybe you're only focused on the guitar, or maybe you're just listening to the chord changes. So with each listen through, maybe have a different focus so that you can listen in an active and a more detailed way to really build your listening skills. The more you hear this stuff, the easier it is going to be to play it and memorize it. All right, this one is in the key of D major. The form is AABB, like so many fiddle tunes. All right, the melody for this one is mostly pentatonic. Penta means 5, so it's a 5-note scale. And we can find this scale if we know the full major scale. It's pretty easy to find. We're just going to leave out the 4th and the 7th scale notes. So if we're playing the melodic scale here in the key of D major, we got 1st note, 2nd, 3rd, 4th is a G. Then the 5th note is an A here, is our 5th string, B, C sharp, right? Back to D, and the C sharp's the other one. Actually, that's going to be in the licks a little bit in some scale patterns, but that one's going to be rarely seen. The G is seen some, even though it's not in the pentatonic scale, because we go to a G chord. So incorporating that sometimes is going to be a safe note and a good sounding note. But for the most part, we're sticking with the pentatonics here in the melody and in the licks. And the melody in the A section is a little bit stripped down, but it has that syncopation, right? Coming in on an offbeat. Nailing the timing of that can be tough for a lot of people, but if you make listening a part of your practice, it will be easier. Okay, technique. I think the hardest technique thing in this tune, in this basic arrangement, is where we do this kind of up the neck thing. Right, and we're wrapping the thumb over top of the neck. So if we have our fingers curled here, we can just, let the neck come back into the crook of our hand a little bit more than we usually would, and that will get enough reach here to just barely touch this thumb right behind this fret, and that'll help us get the fretted note, and then we're just doing a backward roll once that's down. Right, not too bad. If you can't reach that, if you have trouble with that, the other thing we could do is adopt a more classical guitar posture and put the thumb behind the back of the neck and get this note with our first finger. Actually didn't even have the thumb all the way back, but I was able to reach it. All right, but you might want to try the thumb more with the thumb pad there in the back middle of the neck. And reach just like that. If you're a guitar player, this is pretty similar to how you might do a bar chord, so that should feel pretty familiar to you. If you notice, when I'm using this classical guitar posture, thumb behind the neck, but also the knuckles are much more in line and parallel with the fretboard, whereas where I'm using this more kind of banjo posture, which a lot of it borrows from how fiddle and violin players hold their hands around the neck. You can see the thumb is on its side, right, not flat. It's on its side of the top here, and then the knuckles here are at much more of an angle. Right? They're not parallel anymore. So those are some of the big differences when using thumb over the top posture and that more classical guitar posture with the thumb behind the neck. Use your Tunefox tools. If the up the neck melodic lick is tough for you, use the focus feature there and slow the tempo down. Listen repeatedly so you know how it sounds, and then practice repeatedly. And the same would go for any tough measures here that are tough for you personally, right? Some things come easier to others, and some things don't. It's different for everyone. So like the syncopated rhythm might be the thing that's harder for you. In that case, focus on measure 1, listen repeatedly, and practice repeatedly at a speed that you can handle, that's easy for you. All right, there's a lot of licks in this one to check out. There is some good Scruggs, single string, and melodic ideas for you all to dive into. The Scruggs riffs, we're just going to be rolling with the chord changes. That's going to help provide some forward momentum to our melodic tune. Keep it driving, give it that classic banjo sound. And there's kind of some more modern approaches within the Scruggs style here as well to give you some really unique sounds. A lot of the Scruggs riffs also incorporate some accents, and those are marked with kind of the little greater than symbol above the tablature. And if you listen repeatedly, you'll be able to hear how those notes are being played louder than other notes within the roll. And that really helps bring a lot of life to the music and to the riff. Right? If I played that without an accent, it would not have near as much life. Add in some accents if you want the groove. The single string riffs are just some cool melodic variations to give you a different sound and different approach to mix in here with your melodic style. Again, a lot of these are using the pentatonic scale. Even if you don't know the scale, you're going to start to know the sound by the end of learning this tune and after you've learned a lot of the licks. And you'll really hear the difference with some of the other licks that do add in a more full major scale. And we have a absolute jackpot of melodic licks to check out. A lot of these are going to be great reusable licks. There's going to be some variations of the melody and some scale patterns, and a lot of these licks are also going to include some accents to help bring to life some groove and help bring out the movement of the scale patterns to really just liven things up. A lot of the scale patterns are going to be have a full major scale pattern or a melodic scale pattern. And when we add in the accents, these things are just too cool. As I said, a lot of these will be reusable. They're not tied to any particular melody. They're just cool melodic licks in the key of D. Some of the licks that have the full major scale are going to require you to have a big stretch. It's common in the key of D major when we're not using a capo and we spike the 5th string. I mean, the basic major scale itself has this big stretch that we need embedded into it when we're playing in this melodic style. So it's something to get used to. We're going to use that classical guitar posture that I talked about as an option for this up the neck lick. So you'll have your thumb behind the neck, fingers and knuckles more parallel to the neck and fretboard. And the way I like to think about it when doing this big stretch, if we get into 6th position and we're putting all our fingers down here, right now I'm on the 2nd string, 1st finger down on the 6th fret, all the other fingers one by one on the adjacent frets, and then we're going to kind of bring your elbow in and reach back on the side of your 1st finger. That's really going to help you get this stretch without getting this big bend in your wrist. That's something that you really want to avoid because it can lead to injury. All right, for your next steps, make sure to memorize some backup. If you're planning on jamming, backup is something you're going to do way more than you play lead, so you need to know it and you need to be good at it. So make sure to dive into some of that. And check out those single string arrangements. A lot of those are going to have the same notes that we're playing here, but we're just going to play them at some different places on the neck because we'll be using a lot more closed shapes. That means no open strings. But you'll hear by the sound of it that it sounds the same. So it's going to kind of help you to understand your options in Angelina Baker and help you to understand the fretboard layout and know some different places that you can play the same notes in phrases. All right, that's all we have for the melodic version of Angelina Baker. I hope you all enjoyed it. Keep picking and stay tuned.